Dear listeners, thank you for supporting us with your subscription. Enjoy watching. The phone rang non-stop. The rattling sound of it still pulled me out of the clammy embrace of sleep. I sat up on the bed and looked at the machine. I still hoped that someone had got the wrong number, but the phone rang repeatedly, and finally I picked up the receiver. I'm listening. Dima, the manager of the Bronze Age Club, where I worked part-time on weekends, called. Yeah. Is there a problem? Not really. There's a man looking for you. There's an entrepreneur. Really wants you and the guys to play at his anniversary party. One section. He's a 70s rock and roll fan. Says he'll pay good money. Where are they celebrating? Out of town. Old Castle Motel. Can you make it? My wife's out of town visiting her parents and won't be back for a while. My daughter's staying with my parents. I'm alone now, so in principle, why not? You can always use the money. What time should we arrive? He said 7 p.m. All right. I'll be there. They hung up on me on the other end. I turned on the record player and put on a Chuck Berry record. Women are bloodthirsty cats, but it's awfully boring without them, Chuck assured me. Then I poured myself a whiskey. No sooner had I drank than the doorbell rang. Without dressing, I went to the door and looked through the peephole. There was a messenger in uniform. In his hands, he was holding an envelope. When I opened the door, he handed it to me without even asking my name and turning around began to go down the stairs. I locked the door and went into the kitchen. I poured the ground Italian coffee into a clay pot, added water, and put it on the stove. Then I opened the envelope. Okay. A brightly decorated card and a small bundle of neatly folded green dollars. I counted it exactly 500. The card had invitation written in gold on a red background. Inside was handwritten. This is the deposit. That's twice the fee. I'll see you at the Old Castle Motel at 7 p.m. and the date. I shrugged. $1.50 for one department wasn't bad at all. With a cup of coffee in hand, I returned to the room, changed the record and settled into a chair. A Peggy Lee song from her latest album came on from the 4 speakers on my record player. I listened to the song and drank my coffee, admiring the collection of vintage guitars hanging on the wall. I had a lot to think about. Svetlana and I had lived with 15 years. I was already in my 30s when I met her at someone's anniversary party. I was playing with the guys that night, providing musical accompaniment, and Sweta was among the guests. She stood out noticeably in the faceless crowd of munching and drinking guests. We danced with her a few times, and I gave her a ride home after the anniversary. Sweta was 3 years younger than me. She rented a room in a bedroom community. We sat in the car for a long time, and I finally worked up the courage and kissed her. She didn't resist, and then I suggested we go back to my place. She agreed after thinking about it. We drank some wine, listened to music, and moved on to more serious physical exercise. So she came into my life. Sweta had a very valuable quality. She knew how to be in the right place at the right time. And soon, I could not imagine my life without her. We dated for about 3 months and came to the conclusion that we should get married. We got married in September. We didn't exactly splurge. Friends, parents, and close family. 3 years later, our daughter was born. I worked as an engineer in a factory, and on weekends I played in a cozy little club, the Bronze Age. I managed in my youth studying at the Mechanical Engineering Institute to finish music school at the same time, and now music helped me to survive. I put together a small band and we played rock and roll of the 70s. It turned out that there were a lot of fans of that kind of music in our town, and on weekends, the club was full of old rockers. They listened to covers of forgotten today bands with pleasure, drinking their nostalgia away with strong drinks. Sweta was a landscaper. She designed plots for wealthy clients who had no desire to do it themselves. Over time, she became quite famous and in demand. Along with fame increased the number and duration of business trips. But I was confident in my wife. In all the years of our life together, she never gave any reason to doubt her love and faithfulness. Our family standard of living was above average. There was enough money to live and have fun. Like any self-respecting man, I had a stash. A week ago, I learned that the owners were going to live abroad and urgently wanted to sell the Bronze Age Club at a fairly low price. I didn't hesitate to borrow money from my parents, took a loan from the bank with my father's help, added everything I had and bought it back. I registered the purchase in my father's name. He was a pensioner and had significant tax benefits. Svetlana knew nothing about it. I decided to wait for her and celebrate our purchase. At the same time, to consult with his wife on what to do next, leave work at the plant and work closely involved in the club, or continue to try to sit on 2 chairs. After lunch, I called the guys and asked them to come to the motel a little earlier to set up and check the equipment. Then I called my wife, but her phone was off. Okay. I'll call her back later. I guess it's dead. I changed my clothes. I put on a light, dark blue shirt, jeans, and light high-heeled cowboy boots. A 70s rocker's dream. Checked my guitar, chords, and microphone. I try to work with my gear to rule out any surprises. At 6:45, I was already sitting in the car and pulling out of the yard. I knew the way and planned to arrive on time. I barely parked in the parking lot, which was packed with expensive cars, and took my tools and my bag of cords and went to the entrance of the motel. The doorman at the entrance quickly opened the door, saying that the Jubilee had asked for me several times. Walking up to the stage, I made sure the guys had everything hooked up and we were ready to start. A young man in a fancy suit came up to me. Hi. I'm the host. You go first. How do I announce you? So announce you. The band Ricochet, music of the Bronze Age. We'll take it from here. The young man made a note in his notebook and instantly disappeared. He was immediately replaced by another. Paul asks you to approach him. I approached a small group of men sitting imposingly. One of them stood up and extended his hand to me. Hello, Dmitri. Thank you for coming. I'm waiting for my friend, and I'm going to ask you to play Autumn by Vladimir Eriksson. As we enter the hall. It's her favorite song. It's not just hers. My spec has also monocodaling that theme. I thought. Well, and then you play according to your program. Finish the Jubilee. Well, do not worry. Everything will be done properly. I nodded my head and went back up on stage. You guys play Autumn first, then Rumba, and the rest. I picked up my guitar and fixed the mic. Suddenly, everyone was quiet and turned toward the entrance. The Jubilee man was walking in leading a blonde young woman in a gorgeous purple dress tailored precisely to her figure. A well-dressed gray-haired man in years and a young graceful woman looked on lovingly. How great the couple looked. And at that moment, I recognized my wife in the Jubilee's companion. My fingers played the intro by themselves, and I began to sing. Autumn, 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 autumn. There's a summer somewhere. But it's not there anymore. There's no more. No more. No more. It's a requiem for my love. My voice was distorted and Sweeter didn't recognize it. The couple cued sweetly about something and went to their place at table, and the guests looked at them too, began to sit down. I finished singing and there was silence in the room. Gentlemen, the Jubilee's voice was amplified by the microphone in his hand. It's been a year now that we are together. Today, my beloved woman has agreed to become my wife. He took a blue box from the table and pulled out a ring. Judging by the way it gleamed in the reflected light, there were plenty of diamonds. In honor of this occasion, accept my love, this gift. He put it on the ring finger of Sweeter's right hand. On the same way, until recently, she had worn my wedding ring. Apparently, Pavel decided to combine two events, his 60th birthday and his engagement. Sweta stood up and kissed her future husband on the lips. The guests applauded. For a moment, I thought I was dreaming. This is just a dream. Now I would wake up and it would all disappear. I even closed my eyes. Alas, the jubilee continued. What should I do? Go over there and punch the jubilee guy in the face. That's stupid. It's not like he had anything to do with it. What will I achieve? I'll be thrown out and that's it. Giving Sveka a shameless punch in the face, the ending is exactly the same. Alright. I'll see this show through to the end. The host came up to the stage. Gentlemen, our guest is Ricochet with the program music of the Bronze Age. The lights were dimmed and a spotlight illuminated the front stage. And then Sweta recognized me. I could clearly see her hand pressed against her throat. Her companion leaned toward her and then said something to the waiter. A few seconds later, the waiter brought a glass of water. Yes. It looks like the bride is not well. We played the part. All the while, Sveta did not take her eyes off the stage. She tried to get up several times, but then sat down again. Her date wouldn't leave her side, hovering, so to speak, like a fly over a turd. When we finished, to the applause of the guests, and began to gather the equipment, that presenter handed me an envelope of money. Pavelville is very pleased. He'll be in touch with you again. Well, that's unlikely. I threw my guitar on my shoulder and approached Svetlana. She was sitting alone. Her companion went out somewhere. Seeing me, his wife lowered her eyes. I threw my wedding ring into the glass of champagne in front of her, then I turned, picked up my bag and went to the exit. The car started with half a turn, the engine rumbled quietly. Sveka, how could you? Inside me poured a cold emptiness, pouring raging emotions. I slowly backed up, turned around, and drove out onto an empty highway. In the distance, a huge city sparkled with multicolored advertising lights. Dear listeners, please like and subscribe to our channel. It stimulates me to release new videos.